Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so you've probably seen the wild rumors sweeping the internet lately about a sudden impending currency ban here in India. People are panicking, thinking their 500, 200, and 100 rupee notes are just going to be shut down overnight. Well, today we're cutting through the noise. We're going to unpack the actual data to uncover the Reserve Bank of India's real, long-term technological master plan for the future of our money.
Let's just nip this biggest myth in the bud right off the bat. There is no sudden midnight demonetization happening. You're not going to wake up tomorrow morning to find your 500 rupee notes are suddenly worth this paper. The anxiety? Totally understandable. But the strategy this time around is completely different. It's actually built around a very quiet, very calculated transition.
So, instead of an overnight ban, banks are just going to execute a highly systematic, gradual phase-out. Think back to how the 2,000 rupee note was handled. It's exactly like that. First, the government just prints fewer of them. Then, when you deposit your old notes at the bank, they simply stop giving them back out. They quietly recall that old paper as it naturally cycles through the banking system. It's completely invisible and honestly entirely friction-free.
Which brings up the obvious question, what exactly is replacing our old currency? Well, we are making a massive shift away from traditional paper to a highly durable material called polymer. Right now, the US dollar, the euro, and our rupee are all paper, but countries like Canada and Australia, who actually pioneered this way back in 1988, they use polymer, which is essentially just a specialized high-grade plastic.
And honestly, what makes polymer so fascinating is the sheer amount of high-tech security you can pack into it. These notes are incredibly tear-resistant. I mean, unless you're using extraordinary force, a Canadian dollar simply won't rip. But beyond just being tough, they feature top-to-bottom transparent windows, complex holograms that change when you tilt them, metallic imagery, and even hidden numbers. They're literally technological marvels.
Pillar 1. The economics of printing money.
To really understand why the RBI is doing this, look at the staggering cost of paper. Printing money is breathtakingly expensive. In the 2024-25 financial year alone, the Indian government dropped a massive 3,720 crore rupees just to print paper currency. And that cost? It's been climbing by roughly 25%. I mean, just getting a simple 20 rupee note into circulation costs nearly 1 rupee to make, and a 100 rupee note costs almost 2 rupees.
And this highlights the glaring problem with paper. It wears out incredibly fast. The data shows that by the 2026 financial year, a staggering 1,200 crore pieces of torn, soiled, degraded 100 and 500 rupee notes will have to be safely destroyed. And obviously, every single destroyed note means a brand new one has to be printed, which creates this never-ending cycle of massive expenses.
But here's the crucial takeaway. Yes, these high-tech plastic notes definitely cost more to manufacture up front. However, they survive 4 times longer in active circulation than standard paper. Because they don't get all soiled and torn up, the government doesn't have to keep destroying and reprinting billions of them. In the long run, the savings are absolutely huge.
Pillar 2. The fight against fake currency.
So, this next part is a huge matter of national security. The data here reveals a terrifying near 20% spike in fake 500 rupee notes seized by banks in just a single year. In FY 24-25, banks confiscated 217,000 fakes. By FY 25-26, that jumped to 229,000. And remember, that's only counting the ones they actually caught. Since banks seize fakes and the person holding them loses the money, a lot of people just try to pass them off to local vendors. So the true number out there is vastly higher.
Now, to see exactly how Polymer fixes this, we just have to look at Canada. Between 2001 and 2004, Canada actually had the highest counterfeit rate out of all the world's top 20 economies. But after they completely switched over to plastic notes in 2011 to fight the crisis, their fake currency rate just collapsed by an incredible 90%. They literally went from finding 470 fake notes per million in circulation all the way down to just single digits. Single digits. It was an absolute game changer. It proved that the transparent windows and those sophisticated holograms on a polymer note are basically a counterfeiter's worst nightmare. They're just way too difficult and way too expensive to accurately replicate.
Pillar 3. Controlling the cash economy.
Okay, we all know UPI and digital payments have absolutely exploded in India, right? Yet despite that, a mind-boggling 42.8 lakh crore rupees remains in physical cash circulation right now. You can still walk into a high-end luxury showroom and see someone making a massive purchase, not with a credit card, but by casually handing over a thick bundle of cash. And a lot of times, that income completely bypasses the tax system.
So by slowly pulling back the 500 rupee notes and leaning much more heavily on 100 and 200 rupee denominations, the authorities are executing a brilliant tactical move here. Think about it. If someone wants to hoard massive sums of off-the-books cash, suddenly they have to manage triple the physical volume. It makes it physically exhausting and super obvious to hoard, transport, or hide huge amounts of untaxed wealth.
The transition plan, learning from the past.
Now you might be wondering, has India ever actually attempted plastic money before? Surprisingly, yes. Back in 2012, the government tested the waters with 1 billion Polymer 10 rupee notes across 5 major cities, like Jaipur and Shimla. But they had to pause the experiment because their ATMs just didn't have the tech to correctly dispense plastic. Interestingly enough, Nepal tried something really similar back in 2002, but the public actually complained the notes were just too slippery to count by hand.
But hey, technology has advanced dramatically since then. This time around, the RBI is totally prepared for a seamless rollout. The strategy points to a very gradual introduction alongside our existing paper money, probably starting with smaller 10 rupee notes so we can all just get used to the feel of them. Between that and the upgraded ATMs, the goal is zero public disruption. No panic, and absolutely no standing in endless lines at the bank.
As this completely new, highly advanced era of Indian currency approaches, it leaves us with a pretty fascinating debate to end on. Since these new notes are going to be designed entirely from scratch, should Mahatma Gandhi remain the sole face of our currency? Or is it maybe time to feature other historical figures like Subhash Chandra Bose or Bhagat Singh across the different denominations? It's a really provocative question, and it leaves us wondering exactly what the face of our cutting-edge polymer economy is going to look like.